Have you ever had someone's words or actions leave you feeling crushed, like it's a personal attack, even when it wasn't intended that way? It's as if every little comment or glance becomes a reflection of your worth, and suddenly, your mood takes a dive. You replay the situation in your head, wondering what went wrong. It's exhausting. But what if there's a way to break free from this constant emotional roller coaster? What if you could stop taking everything personally and start living in peace, unaffected by the opinions or behaviors of others? Keep watching, because in just a few minutes, you'll learn how to free yourself from this cycle. So, what makes us take things so personally? Why does something as simple as an offhand comment or a look from someone send us into a tailspin of negative thoughts and self-doubt? The truth is, when we take things personally, we're often reacting from a place of insecurity or past wounds. We allow the words and actions of others to validate or invalidate our sense of self-worth. When we feel criticized or dismissed, it taps into those deep-seated fears of not being good enough or not being loved. This emotional reaction is also a defense mechanism. When we take something personally, our brains are trying to protect us from perceived harm, even if that harm isn't actually there. It's our emotional system going into overdrive to protect us from rejection or judgment. Unfortunately, this makes us prone to misinterpreting others' intentions, causing unnecessary stress, anxiety, and hurt. But the first step in overcoming this pattern is recognizing it and understanding why we react the way we do. As humans, we have an innate need for connection and acceptance. This need can lead us to be hypersensitive to how others perceive us. It's natural to want to fit in and be liked, but when our sense of self-worth becomes too reliant on the approval of others, it can lead to this constant cycle of taking things personally. If we don't learn how to manage this, it can begin to shape our identities in unhealthy ways. Taking things personally affects our mental health in profound ways. It can cause chronic stress, anxiety, and even depression. When we allow the words and behaviors of others to dictate our emotions, we lose control over how we feel. We become overly sensitive, constantly on edge, waiting for the next thing to trigger us. Over time, this erodes our self-esteem and can lead to feelings of worthlessness. We start believing that others' opinions of us define our value, and we lose sight of our own truth. In many ways, taking things personally becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more we react to others' actions, the more we feel powerless and misunderstood. This emotional chaos only reinforces the belief that we are at the mercy of others' opinions. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can take control of your emotions and learn how to rise above the influence of others. The problem is that many of us don't realize how much power we're giving away by taking things personally. Each time we allow someone else's behavior to affect us negatively, we're essentially letting them dictate our mood. It's like handing over the remote control of our emotions to someone else. Over time, this can lead to feelings of helplessness and frustration. But once we understand this dynamic, we can begin to take back control. Another key reason we take things personally is because of our past experiences. Many of us have faced rejection, criticism, or neglect in childhood or throughout our lives. These experiences can leave scars that influence how we interpret the actions of others as adults. For instance, if you were often criticized or made to feel inadequate as a child, you may carry that emotional baggage into your adult relationships, interpreting innocent comments as personal attacks. Our past shapes the lens through which we see the world. If we haven't fully healed from old wounds, we are more likely to project our insecurities onto others. We interpret actions through the filter of our past pain, which leads to emotional reactions that aren't actually rooted in the present situation. The more we let these past wounds control us, the more reactive we become. But once we understand how our past shapes our responses, we can begin to heal those wounds and take back control over our emotional reactions. Moreover, if you've had experiences where others' actions or words truly did harm you, it can become challenging to distinguish between present-day interactions and those old wounds. This emotional baggage makes it harder to see situations objectively. Recognizing the influence of your past allows you to start separating old pain from current reality, which is a crucial step toward healing and emotional freedom. A key step in breaking the cycle of taking things personally is setting healthy emotional boundaries. Boundaries are about protecting your emotional space and not allowing others to overstep or manipulate your feelings. When we don't have clear boundaries, we become vulnerable to the opinions and behaviors of others. We end up letting them dictate how we feel. Setting boundaries means knowing where your emotions begin and end. It's recognizing that you can't control how others act, but you do have control over how you respond. By practicing practicing self-awareness and learning to detach emotionally from other people's actions, you can stop taking things personally. Boundaries empower you to protect your peace and emotional well-being, allowing you to navigate relationships with confidence and grace. Without boundaries, we can fall into the trap of over-explaining ourselves, justifying our feelings, or even changing our behavior to accommodate others. But this only leads to more confusion and resentment. Healthy boundaries help us avoid these traps by providing clarity around where we stand and what we will or will not tolerate emotionally. One of the most powerful tools in stopping the cycle of taking things personally is shifting your perspective. Instead of assuming that everything is about you, try to view situations from the other person's point of view. Often, their actions or words have nothing to do with you. They're a reflection of their own struggles, insecurities, or emotional state. When you start seeing that people's reactions are more about them than about you, it becomes easier to let go of the need to take things personally. Ask yourself, what is the other person going through, or what might be influencing their behavior right now? This doesn't excuse harmful actions, but it allows you to detach from the emotional impact of those actions, giving you more peace and emotional freedom. This shift in perspective doesn't mean you have to ignore your own feelings or dismiss any hurt caused. Instead, it's about recognizing that someone else's behavior is often not a reflection of your worth or character. It's a reflection of their own experiences, limitations, and emotional state. By learning to separate their actions from your self-worth, you start to regain control over your emotional responses. Self-awareness and self-compassion are critical when learning how to stop taking things personally. Self-awareness allows you to notice when you're reacting emotionally to something and catch yourself before spiraling into self-doubt or frustration. You begin to recognize your triggers and can choose how to respond rather than reacting impulsively. Self-compassion, on the other hand, is about treating yourself with kindness and understanding. When you take things personally, it's easy to beat yourself up or feel ashamed, but self-compassion teaches you to be gentle with yourself, acknowledging that it's okay to have emotional reactions, but also reminding yourself that your value is not determined by how others treat you. By cultivating self-compassion, you can create a healthier relationship with yourself and stop depending on external validation for your sense of self-worth. Self-compassion doesn't mean excusing others' hurtful actions. It means recognizing that no one is perfect and that you are deserving of kindness, even from yourself. With self-compassion, you can learn to view your emotional reactions without judgment, allowing yourself the space to heal and grow. The key to breaking free from the cycle of taking things personally is to take back control of your emotions. Recognize that your worth doesn't depend on others' opinions, and that you have the power to choose how you respond. Through self-awareness, setting boundaries, shifting your perspective, and practicing self-compassion, you can stop letting the actions of others dictate your emotional state. It's not an overnight change, but with patience and practice, you'll start to experience more peace, more confidence, and a greater sense of emotional freedom. You deserve to live a life where you're not constantly weighed down by the opinions of others. Start today and take the first step toward reclaiming your emotional power.